Welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. I'm recording this video at 2 o'clock in the morning on November 5th, and we still don't know who won Georgia, we still don't know who won Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, but by the time you guys watch this video, there's a decent possibility that one of those states has gone to Joe Biden and he's already declaring victory in the morning. But I don't care. I have two things that I want to say in this video. The first is that even if the absolute worst case scenario happens, God forbid Biden actually wins, it's not over. And of course, the more optimistic scenario, which I'm still believing in, is that the president wins Georgia by like 10,000 votes. He just holds on to it. Arizona flips and we are still in play. That is best case scenario right now, and it's looking like it might be a possibility. But either way, even if the Democrats are all over Twitter now doing victory laps, they're saying they're going to flip Georgia, North Carolina is going to flip by November 12th, Pennsylvania is going to be a massive loss for the president after they count these 700,000 ballots that are still remaining. This is not a massive win for the Democrats. In fact, quite the contrary. The narrative was that Biden was going to win by an absolute landslide. You guys see what's on my screen right now. We've got 51.8% for Biden and 43.4% for President Donald Trump. Joe Biden's supposed to have a massive, monumental, insurmountable lead, and the president is going to be completely embarrassed by the 400 electoral vote landslide, which will then follow. We go through some of these phony BS polls from YouGov, Research Co., Ipsos, Swayable, SurveyMonkey, most of which are near 10-point margins. And once again, the polling industry, if we could even call it an industry, the polling clown show has been proven either corrupt or incompetent. You can make your own decision on that one, because the president, of course, as we know it, is only down 2.5% to Joseph Biden, and that's considering what a lot of people feel is quite fishy results. This is not a blue wave. This is not a massive win for Joe Biden. This is a pathetic performance considering the deck was stacked against the current president, like I've been saying in all of my videos. We've been saying it for months. What this president has had to endure during his 4 years in office has been absolutely disgusting, and we're seeing it culminate in the most ridiculous, untrustworthy election of all time. But the GOP has shattered expectations in every single metric. We can just go and take a look at the states down over here. Biden expected to win easily. Of course, he wins them all. Biden expected to win narrowly, and still Trump is ahead by 3 in Pennsylvania. That might not last. But who knows what's going to happen here over the next couple months of the court battles. Nevada could, of course, go to the president. He's only down 7,000 votes. It's going to be hard, but it's possible. There is a possible upset victory in Nevada. But where we really see how bad the mainstream narrative has been is right over here. Toss-up states. These are supposed to be states that are won by a thin, extremely thin margin that could go either way. Trump dominated Florida by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of votes. Georgia, we still don't know what's going on here, but it turns out it's a toss-up, but a lot of people would argue that there's some very weird stuff going on here. Iowa was expected to go to Biden for months on end. Iowa, Trump won by 8 points, similar to his 2016 results. North Carolina, the president's winning. Ohio +8, Texas +6. These are not toss-up states, regardless of what the media has been trying to feed you over the last couple months. It gets even worse. Trump expected to, quote, narrowly win. Narrowly. He won by 30, 19, 16, 16, 16, 12, 20. The narrative has been bunk since the start. The polling industry is a racket to disenfranchise voters and sway a narrative in a specific way. It's done on purpose. It's done to convince low information voters that there is a referendum against Donald Trump and his terrible actions, and the evil orange man must be removed from office. So please sign this ballot here for sleepy, creepy Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We promise they're so much better. And the person taking that ballot doesn't even know what they're doing. It's a racket from the media, the algorithms, to the polls. The entire deck is stacked against the president. And the only reason that he's behind right now is because of this massive universal mail-in ballot system that was implemented in the most shoddy way possible. And I've been repeating that in all of my videos, and I will keep repeating it because it is true. This was a racket to convince low information voters to vote against their interests, frankly. College students showing up in incredible numbers, breaking for Joe Biden at 62% as they're coming out of university or finishing school, and they're going to be headed into higher taxes, less opportunity, less industry, and probably a terrible economy. Good job, kids. Great job, young voters. You really killed it on this one. It's unbelievable. And the president is not going to take this. I could pretty much guarantee you that. And the mobilization to go after these states and to make sure that every single vote was legitimate is going to start. In fact, here's the president's team showing exactly what their intentions are.
Well, yes, I'm confident that some of these things will resolve without a lawsuit, and the narrow ones that may require it, we are going to very aggressively pursue them all the way. So hopefully we will win soon. Right. We are actually projecting by the end of the week, hopefully, to be able to finalize the 2 more states that we need.
Well, we want the opportunity to be able to examine all of these things. That is the purpose of having people getting access to the polling locations. That is the purpose. It's absolutely legal, and under Michigan law and other state laws, we are allowed to have meaningful access, and we have been prevented from having that. All we want to do is to ensure that these elections are free and fair. The president wants every eligible voter to be able to vote once, and have that vote counted.
This thing is far from over, and even if Joe Biden declares victory, the president is not going to stop there. Considering we're in completely uncharted territory, the American people need to be made absolutely confident without a single shred of doubt that every single vote is legitimate. There are all kinds of stories coming out showing that the numbers could potentially be skewed, the numbers that we have officially. Of course, a lot of this stuff needs to be vetted. We don't know what's true and what's not, but that's the entire point. Every single ballot must be investigated. Sounds like a stretch, but it's the only way that we know this democratic process was done properly. We're getting reports like this. Analysis: 7 Milwaukee wards report more 2020 presidential votes than registered voters. Biden nets 146K votes in city. Milwaukee and Madison County had anywhere from 50 to nearly 70% increased voter turnout. That doesn't make sense. A lot of Democrats would argue you just want to disenfranchise voters. No, we're looking at this from a historical perspective. That's never happened before. We need to make sure that those votes were tabulated correctly and, of course, submitted correctly in the first place. It doesn't make sense. What have we been talking about for the last 8 months as we've gone through this election cycle? Joe Biden has a massive enthusiasm problem. The enthusiasm gap is going to affect voter turnout. Then all of a sudden, Joe Biden happens to mobilize historic, unprecedented, never seen before voter mobilization and voter turnout, getting the most votes of any presidential candidate in the history of American politics. It doesn't make sense. And just considering that as a baseline, it must be investigated to make sure that the will of the American people has been respected. I'm not saying that it's impossible that we see the highest voter turnout in American history in some of these cities, but all happen to be Democrat cities in the most key states. The state of Wisconsin at 90% voter turnout, Michigan, same thing. I get it. If the candidate was absolutely incredible, charismatic, good-looking, smart, the greatest platform ever devised of man that can bring Republicans and Democrats together, sure. But we're not talking about that theoretical greatest leader of all time. We're talking about this guy. This guy is the most popular president in American voting history. How? Somebody please explain that one to me, because my brain just can't seem to grasp it. Not to mention, after everything that's gone down over the last couple months, after all the riots, after all the looting, after the violence, the vitriolic rhetoric from the left, Joe Biden's complete inability to stand up for what's right, his flip-flopping, his lying, his slander, his gaffes, everything that has happened, everything that we have covered from the start of this election cycle all the way to the end, we've covered every step and every breath and every word that Joe Biden has made or uttered, and we're supposed to believe the final results are as they are. No way. Joe Biden lost a chunk of the black vote. He lost a chunk of the Hispanic vote. He lost white women. He got absolutely decimated in Florida, Ohio, Iowa, Texas, then is on track to win the election. It just doesn't make any sense, and the people aren't buying it, folks. The people aren't buying it, and it's causing a new heightened level of animosity, which is going to be very hard to fix. And by the way, having said that, but this isn't a win for Joe Biden. He barely eked by, considering all the shady stuff that's going on that's going to play out in the courts. And on top of that, the Democrats have already lost 6 seats in the House. By morning, they might have lost more. The Republicans have held on to the Senate. And in Michigan, John James almost flipped another Senate seat red. The GOP has had clear momentum down ballot, once again outperforming the polls, the phony narrative which has been shoved down your throats for the last year or so. They've been polling Joe Biden against the president basically since he got in office, and the president has never even gotten close to Joe Biden. But then when that ballot gets put in front of people, Republicans are just banging out down ballot but not voting for the president. I have a feeling this election saga is far from over. The president is not just gonna go down without a fight, and he shouldn't, considering the circumstance. All of these key states, these ballots need to be investigated, and the American people need to have absolute full transparency as to who the real winner of this election is. And you know, so be it. If it actually is Joe Biden, if the American people's wish is to vote this geriatric incompetent into office, then that's life. And at least the GOP retained the Senate and made some gains in the House, and Joe Biden wins by a very small little sliver in some of these key states. And then it'll be time to see him in 2024 after his inevitable train wreck of a presidency, which of course by then is going to be Kamala Harris. And then hopefully the American people will wake up. But we're just going to keep pushing optimism on this channel, guys. It's not the end of the world. The Democrats have not won an incredible victory here. Even if they do win, Republicans have made some serious gains in voter demographics, in the House, in the Senate. Donald Trump outperformed the polls in a completely dramatic fashion, and we're just going to have to see how the cookie crumbles. Now I got to get back to work. There's potential we get some numbers out of Arizona and Georgia soon, and if we do, then I'll be up at 4 o'clock in the morning recording another video for you guys tomorrow. So I'm going to get to that. I want to thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, please, and share the videos as much as possible. We got to keep growing this channel, keep growing this community, even if YouTube has quarantined us in the algorithm. So I'm going to get to that. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.